Hi all, in this session we are going to learn about Azure Virtual Network. Here we can learn what is virtual network, what do you mean by IP addresses, what are the different types of IP classes are there, everything we are going to discuss in detail in this session. Let us quickly understand what do you mean by Azure Virtual Network. An Azure Virtual Network is a representation of own network in the cloud. Means if you are going to define your own or customized network in the cloud, that will be called as a virtual network. Why we need to create the virtual network? In order to set the logical boundary. I'm going to show to you some kind of pictorial diagram. Then you will have some kind of better understanding what exactly the virtual network is. Here simply I'm going to take this. Assume this is a kind of entire virtual network. Virtual network. So this is the virtual network where I'm going to create in the Azure cloud. Here it is a kind of logical boundary. The resources which I want to create, I'm going to create inside of this virtual network. Means here I am going to create the subnets. One subnet, two subnet, three subnet. How many subnets I want? That many subnets I can be created based on my requirement. Here I can mention as subnet 1. Here I can mention subnet 2. Here I can mention subnet 3. Okay. Here assume if you are an engineering graduate, you have one engineering college there. You are studying in engineering college. In engineering college or in your engineering college, there are 1,000 students are there. Inside of your engineering college, there are a lot of branches are there, like CSE, IT, Mechanical, EEE, ECE. There are a lot of branches are there. Even though the students belong to the different branches, but they all are belonging to the same college. In the similar way, the virtual network is nothing but a college. Inside of the college, we have multiple branches like subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3. Even though these subnets are different each other, but they are belonging to the same virtual network only. Okay, if I want to place any student, I need to be placed in any one of the branch. In the similar way, here also, if I want to create any kind of resource, I need to select one particular subnet. Inside of the subnet only, I can be able to create the resource. Here, in simple terminology, we can set subnet is a part of virtual network. Virtual network is a big network. We are going to divide the big network into multiple parts with the help of subnets. Subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3. How we are going to create the subnets? Means based on the requirement of host. Suppose if you have the 100 hosts in your environment, if you want to 100 hosts in a separate branch, then you are going to create one subnet. Based on the requirement of hosts or requirement of IPs, you are going to create the particular subnets. And once the subnet has been created, inside of subnet, you can be able to create the resources. I'm going to show to you guys. Assume this is a VM. I'm going to show to you VM, and here I am going to create storage account. Will you be only able to create the VMs inside of the subnet? No. Lot of services. Means while creating any kind of Azure services, it is asking you in which network you want to create. Here, whatever the resource you want, you can be create under this. Just copy, paste, come here, paste, come here. So in this way, we can be able to create the multiple resources inside of virtual network. This is the pictorial diagram of the virtual network, how it will be happen. So here I am going to show to you. Up to now, we had created multiple times the VM. Every time we are going to use the default network which has been provided by the cloud service provider Azure. Means up to now we didn't had created any customized network in order to create our resources. By default, the Azure is going to provide some kind of default network. Right now you have one question. Is already we have some kind of default network which has been provided by the Azure, then why we need to create some kind of customer network or custom network? Why? Because even though Azure is going to provide some kind of default network, it is not going to provide privacy. It is going to provide security, but it is not going to provide privacy. If you want to get security along with privacy, then you need to define your own or custom network. Okay? And while creation of any virtual network, we need to select the address space. This is the VNet space. Means here I am going to design one kind of big network. Here we are mentioned with the slash notation, /16 means how many hosts I can be capable to equip in this address space. Here how many space? /16 indicates these 2 bits comes under network bits. These 2 bits comes under host bits, because of this is the 16 slash address. Means here in each octet we have 2 power 8 bits, means 8 bits. Here the first octet is 2 power 8, the second octet is 2 power 8. The 16 is done. Here what we have here, if I mention 16, means 16 here 2 power 8, 2 power 8. Means 2 power 16 IP address I can be able to host in this virtual network address space. And here once the address space has been created, what I need to done? I need to create the subnets, because of without subnets I can't be able to create any resources. Why we need to create the subnets? In order to make the network design easy, and at the same time we are going to break the entire virtual network into multiple small network portions. Here if I select 65,536, that is the almost IPs which we will get. So if we select in these IPs, it will be little bit difficult for us to identify which IP has been allocated to which one. In similar like your college. So even though you have the 1000 number of students, we are going to segregate over branch. So for each branch you are designated to some class or some session. So if you teach to the 1000 people at a time, is it complicated or not? Obviously it has been complicated. In order to organize the network in a better way, we are going to introduce the concept of subnet. Simply subnet is used to organize the Vnet. Fine. Let's come to down. If you whenever you see 10 series IPs, it is a kind of private series. Means private IP address series. Here let us understand deeply. Here the configuration is done by us, but it has been managed by the cloud provider. It comes under IaaS setting. Means here the virtual network is a IaaS service, infrastructure as a service, offered by the Microsoft Azure. Okay. Generally we have 5 types of IP classes are there. We have 5 types of IP classes are there. And before discussing about how many types of IPs we have 2 types of IP versions are there. One is IPv4 and the second one is IPv6. So I'm going to show to you guys. So click. Okay, I'm going to open. Okay, fine. I just open IPv4 and IPv6. Okay, IPv4 is 32-bit. IPv6 is 128-bit IP address. Generally, even though we have the IPv4 version, 32-bit of IP address, why we are going to use IPv6? Because of majorly in real-time environment, we are going to use IPv4 only. Suppose if the number of IPs has been exhausted with IPv4, then in those scenarios we will go for IPv6 version. Generally, it will not end soon. We have with the 32-bit IPs, we will get lot of IPs. Means 2 power 32 IPs we will get. What is the 2 power 32? I'm going to show to you guys. 2 power 32 is equal to these many IP address we have. These many IP address we have. Suppose in future if we exhausted this number, then there is a requirement with the IPv6. Suppose if you use the IPv6, how many IP address you will get? 2 power 128. Here we will get these many IP address if you use IPv6. Fine. Just come down, and here we have 5 different types of IP class are there. What are those? Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class E. The Class A IP range starts from 0.0.0.02 126.255.255.255. Here in each class, Class A, Class B, Class C, we have one private series of IPs are there. Here, if you observe here, there is a breakdown. Here, even though it is from 1 to 126, but up to 9.255.255.255, then from 11 it starts. Means here the 10 series IP has been missed. Means the 10 series private is a private series of IP which we are going to use for internal IP allocation. And coming to the class B, the class B starts from 128 to 172.15 255 to 255. Means from 172, here if you observe here, you can understand from 172.16.0.0.0 to 172.31.0.0. What the IPs we have? Private series of IPs in class B. And from class C, 192.0.0.0 to 192.167.255.255 means here 192.168.0.0 to 192. Okay, 192.168 255 to 255. What we have? Private series of IPs is there. So I'm going to show to you guys, don't worry. So everything I'm going to show to you. Here if you observe, 0.0.0 is missing because of the 0.0.02 is the starting address and the 126.255.255.255 is the ending address. The starting address will be called as network ID. The last address will be called as broadcast IP. So the two address will not be used and will not be allocated to anyone. Okay. Suppose if the IP is starting from 0.0.0, the 0.0.000 is the network ID. If the IP address ends with the 126.255.255.255, this is the broadcast IP. And 127 series IP is the loopback IP. Generally, the 127 series IP is not allocated to any devices or any user because of the 127 series of IP is for loopback IP. Okay, here if you see 10.0.0.0, it is a class A private series of IPs. 172.16.101.0, from this IP the private series of class B has been started. From 192.168.0.0, it is a kind of class C IP private series. Here each and everything is separated by one dot. Here everything will be called as one octet. If you think one octet, it is one octet. 14 is a one octet, 18 is a one octet. So every octet has been separated by one dot. And as we know right now, regarding which IP version we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss about IPv4, IP version 32. Okay, IPv4 means 4 octets we have. 172 is a one octet, 16 is a one octet, 14 is a 1 octet, 18 is a 1 octet. IPv4 means we have each octet we have 8 bits, means 4 into 8, 32 bits. Each octet we have 4 bits. Right now how many octets I have? 4 octets. Each octet how many bits I have? 8 bits. 4 into 8, 32 bits. So whenever we see the IP address of with the 32 bits, we can say it is a IPv4. Here bits are nothing but zeros and ones. Generally how we are going to represent the bits? With the values of zeros and ones. So in this way we can be able to create the multiple series of IPs and come down. So as I already told to you, in a traditional networking, like suppose if you have on-premises environment, in the on-premises environment, with the help of the routers, with the help of the switches, you can be able to create some kind of networking that will be called as physical networking. Means there you have some kind of physical devices are there. So by using the physical devices, you are going to create the network. Inside of the network, you are going to place your infrastructure. So that will be called as a purely on-premises networking. But if you are going to create the same network over the remote or cloud, that will be called as virtual networking. Here in physical network, in a certain IP range, we are going to exclude two IP addresses, the starting IP address and the ending IP address. The starting IP address is network IP address and the ending address is broadcast IP. But coming to the Azure, while we create any subnet, means any series of IPs, it is going to reserve 5 IP address. One is for network ID, starting ID is network ID. The last one is broadcast IP, and the rest of 3 IP addresses are used for DNS mapping and some other Azure functionalities. Okay, and each and everything I had mentioned in detailed version. So just please explore it, guys. I'm going to share this material as well with you. Then you will have some kind of better understanding. Here, as I had mentioned, in class A, the private IP series starts from 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Whenever you see in any of your environment, the IP address starts with the 10 series, then you can assume that it's a kind of 10 series. Here, one more thing, guys, you need to understand why we need to create the private series. Means you are working in an organization. In your organization, you had created one network. Inside of your network, you had thousands of infrastructure is there, or services is there, or assume laptops is there. So for each IP, you are going to take the public IP from the ISP service provider. Is it possible? No. If you take 1000 IPs from the service provider, they will charge you some crores of rupees. So that's why what we will do, instead of taking multiple public IP address, what we will do, we will take one public IP address. We are going to make the other, means with the 1000 resources will be able to access the internet with the help of single IP address or single public IP address. Means here public IP is single one only. We have 1000 private addresses are there. Anyway, the VM or laptop or whatever resource is, it must not should have the private IP address, not private IP address, even though it will be have the public IP address as well. But first of all, it should be having IP address in order to access the internet, or it should in order to communicate with any other thing resource. Means here what I want to say is, for any device, if it want to communicate with external or if it want to communicate with internal things, then it must and should have IP address. Whether it may be public IP address or private IP address, that will be a different scenario based on your requirement. But it should be have one IP address. With the help of the IP address only, the resource will be communicate with the external, or it will be able to communicate with the internal resources. Fine. Here why I need to create the private IPs, instead of making the 1000 resources to use the 1000 public IP address, what I will make, I am going to make the 1000 resources with the private IP allocation, with the private IPs only, it will be able to access the internet with the help of public internet or NAT gateway. Here there is a NAT gateway is there, though we will discuss in the upcoming session. What do you mean by NAT gateway? Generally, in simple terminology, what we can say, the NAT is used the resources which has been with the private IP address. The NAT gateway will make enable to access the internet with the help of private IP address. Means if I enable the resource with the help of the private IP, it can be able to access the internet. That will be called as NAT. NAT stands for Network Address Translation. Here we are not going to take that much public IP address. Generally, whatever the resources which we had created inside of our network, all the resources will get the private IP address only. Whenever the resource want to communicate with the public IP address, then only we are going to assign the public address to the resources. Okay, and here based on the IP notation, if that is /8 /16 /24, that will be called as classful IP addressing. Suppose if you want to make the network as per your IP address requirement, means /12 /11 /6 /17, so purely it is not following some specific standards, then it will be called as classless internet IP addressing. If it is classful, means /8 /16 /24. If it is classless, then it will be whatever it may be based on your IP usage. And one more, based on this IP notation, the number of hosts will be decided. With less number, we will get more hosts. If the host bit, if the IP notation bit has been gradually increased, the number of hosts which we can be equipped is gradually decreasing. It is inversely proportional to each other. Okay, guys. Here, lot of things which I had mentioned here. Remember this, guys, and please have this diagram. Then you will have kind of some better understanding. So in the next session, we will see each and everything in the practical manner. Okay, guys. And it is not such kind of easy to understand about the networking concept. It is a kind of big ocean. So just please try to understand what exactly the network flow is. So by hearing these sessions, then you will have some kind of understanding what exactly virtual network is, why we are going to create the subnets, and how we are going to enable the inbound traffic and outbound traffic. Everything I am going to show to you in upcoming sessions. Don't worry, guys. Just please be focused on what I told. Okay, and thank you so much, guys, for watching my videos. We'll meet up in the next session with a new topic. Until signing off, thank you. Bye bye.